the Real podcast. If you guys are new here, don't forget to smash the likes and subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 3K. Pick up our sponsors, LBI20 to get 20% off and free shipping on manscaped.com. Also, pick up our sponsors, Fanatics, official partners of La Liga and Real Madrid. Go take a look at their brilliant collection of online apparel, sports apparel, basically. Make sure you use your affiliated link in the description below. Also, go show some love to Talksport as well. Everything on LBR, the pod, the fan cams, everything is powered by the Talksport Fan Network, powered by the fans. Right then, without further ado, Sahil, this has been a telling sign for the majority of the season. We have lacked continuity. We have lacked momentum. There have been glimpses of a side that could be possible champions, and I have maybe probably gotten a bit carried away by some of the results, like we had at the Mestalla last minute comeback of that ilk. Really swept me off my foot and off my feet, and now it almost seems like that was a million years ago. When it comes to the league, we have two draws, a loss, and a win in 4 games. Sahil, how is this, traits of a team that is supposed to be challenging at the very top, supposed to be challenging for the major honors going into, March, April, May, which are, in fact, the defining months of the season. There is no excuses, in my opinion. The calendar, congestion, us, having injuries left, right, and center. Even if we had, I don't know, even if we had the best of the best, prime Cristiano and the likes tonight against, this very well drilled Betis side, I don't think we score a goal. After the one we did, the way we started, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a long night for Betis. But after the initial flurry that we had, Betis found it way too comfortable. I mean, is this the same side that we see in the Champions League? In my opinion, it's not. It's way off. It's way off. I think I've officially given up on the league. I'll be very honest. People would call me a bit crazy for that, because this is just beginning of March, but the way things are looking, especially our away form, is a major concern, and we have to travel to Barcelona. How is that going to pan out if we can't do the job against Betis, who are 7th in the league? Although they have been putting up a decent run in in the past few weeks. It doesn't matter. A team of our aspirations should definitely be doing better. We have enough personnel to be seeing this game out easy peasy. Yeah, I'm beyond frustrated, Sahil. This is one of those days that just seems like this is the end for Carlo. I'm not gonna lie.
No, you're right as well with your assessment on whether or not this was a performance of a team that is deserving to be champions. And in truth, it isn't. It is nowhere near a team that should be competing for the title, because the amount of inconsistency in our game that has been exposed tonight with the absences of Jude Bellingham and Fede Valverde are innumerable on the pitch, right?
Yeah.
With the two of them playing and being the essential heartbeat of our team, I think we look a lot more comfortable against sides like Betis. And Betis, again, Betis is not the most difficult challenge in the world, but you know what they're going to pose. You know that they're going to be in some sense a very similar challenge to what Sociedad were, a team who likes to have the ball, a team who's very fluent in possession, right? A well-drilled side that knows how to create chances, a very tactically, aspirational manager as well in Manuel Pellegrini, who's been there, done that against big teams, albeit never against Real Madrid before tonight. But these are players who've played for some of the biggest clubs in Europe, and I
Sahil, is
don't
this
think.
his first win against us?
Yes, it definitely is, and it's also Carlo Ancelotti's first loss against Real Betis. So I don't think this was a game to be taken lightly in any sense, and I don't think there's any games you can take lightly in a league such as this, right? So that's where we're losing out on. That's where we are sort of faltering season after season when it comes to La Liga, because every time Barca aren't, every time we seem to be running away with the league is every season when Barca aren't anywhere close to the game, and every time Barca are at least half decent,
Yeah.
we are we are neck and neck with them up until a certain point of the season, and then things like this happen, games like these happen, because you shouldn't be losing games like these when you're in the challenge for a league title, right? Away at Betis, these are the exact games that are going to prove the mettle of
Mm.
a team that's just going to
Sahil, that is ultimately the question, right? When it comes to May, right, and when the league season winds down, we are not going to be like, oh, Barcelona were that rampant. They were that solid that they actually, overtook us and, basically made, a joke out of us winning the league.
right,
It's mostly us. It's down to us because we had a very clear pathway. Like ever since Barcelona kind of faltered and we kind of took control of the proceedings, it should have been us. It should have been us. I mean, it's not that straightforward. I know that there'll be days where we will have off days, and there'll be genuine questions asked about the credibility of what this team is, but that doesn't mean we go back to back to back to back, away games without a win. It's just impossible to sustain a league defense, a title defense, if we can't do the job on the road. Because
right.
at home, it's all rosy. At home, under the lights with our support and the stadium that we fortunately have, we have an absolute fortress to work with. But when we go away, nights like what happened against Betis happen. The Benito Villamarin, like this is me going into Jurgen Klopp mode. Okay, bear with me, right? Um, if, if for me, up until the floodgates opened up above, I thought we were doing fine. But once the rain kicked in, it's almost like they had superpowers. Our players absolutely had no idea, how to anticipate the ball. I mean, this just looks ridiculous when I say it out loud, but it almost felt like the game was taken away from us, not just by Betis, but everything that surrounded them, the stadium, the fans, the atmosphere that they created. The team that has been to much far more hostile stadiums have overcome much greater setbacks. Just looked out of ideas, Sahil. I mean, like from the kickoff, in the second half, did you seem to kind of have a belief that we would win? I didn't, man. I mean, how many times can we associate our team with lack in belief? Not many in my lifetime.
No, it's a rare sight as well. The looks so uninspiring, for entire 45 minutes and not come anywhere near scoring a goal. Uh, and I think it was less about I know the conditions were difficult, and I know we've played in tougher conditions, all of that. But I think it was less about the conditions, and it was less today about the atmosphere that the Betis fans had built up. Although it was incredible, I just feel like overall Betis just played us, out of the park,
They
and
could, they
it
should
proved.
have scored at least another goal, easy.
No, yeah, for the amount of shots that they had, I'm seeing here 18 shots to 9 of ours,
Mm.
which is just
Yeah.
incredible for, a team that's not been competing for top 4 for a while this season. But they've still managed to play us out of the park. These guys, especially Isco, he was at the middle of it all, right?
Yeah.
Anthony, how many times do we have to mention how much of a shadow he was at United, and how much he's taken things in his stride ever since he's come to Betis. So just a bunch of incredible players, and hats off to Betis. I can't lie, man. They really worked their socks off, like up until the final whistle. Up, I think it sort of started after a few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes after our goal came, and then it
Mm.
was an absolute rampage in the second half where there were periods where we just didn't come close to getting the ball. And then eventually, because of the rain and because of how much Betis had us running, which is
Yeah,
sort of abnormal for any team coming up against Real Madrid.
yeah,
Even so, the goalie scored. How many times do we have to mention that Real Madrid just aren't competent on set pieces, both offensive and defensive? And today they just took that took that by the storm.
yeah.
It would have
Whenever,
been more. They would have scored a couple more off the corners had we
mm,
not had a bit of good fortune. But they
that's the
don't
thing, right?
see it as a gateway, as a path
Mm,
to obstructing Real Madrid from beating them at home. They know Real Madrid can harm them on the counters, but they also knew that the engine room of our midfield in Dani Ceballos, Fede Valverde, even when he's playing at fullback, and
yeah,
in Jude Bellingham, was completely missing. And
mm.
without that connect between, without
The midfield
that
and the
connect,
attack.
yeah, there's sort of no harmony in how our game goes through. So when the midfield isn't there, I think the attack looks clueless, and that was mostly it. Even though we
Yeah.
did have the ball for good periods of today's game, we just weren't potent enough.
We'll get to the midfield situation right in a second,
Sure.
but you made a very valid point about the way we defend corners, right? And I've spoken to the people working inside the very club, right? We don't have a clear cutout structure. From what I've been told, from what I know, it is a blend of zonal marking against specific sides.
Right.
Against other sides who are very potent ball winners in the air, it's man to man marking, right? You take a Haaland equation, for instance, or maybe someone of that stature who is Budimir, right? You're going to mark him a bit more. You're going to do a bit more homework to prepare
Right.
against him. But coming into this better side, okay, maybe if Cedric Beckambu started, I don't know, or
No, he
Mark
didn't. It was
Bartra,
Cucho
yeah,
Hernandez.
yeah, Kucho, right? If Mark Bartra is the only guy you have to be really concerned about, this is what I believe is the end product, because zonal marking has caught us out so many times over the last 3-4 years, especially under Carlos tenure. We see Vasquez trying to mark 6 foot men, Modric trying to mark all these lanky old bastards like he has any right to do. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely nonsensical to leave Thibaut with a situation that is basically unfixable. Like you're asking Thibaut to basically defend the man who's going to be receiving the ball, and then also expect the unexpected shot that's going to eventually come his way and save it. It's ridiculous. I mean, you like this bunch of players, you stack the odds against them, yeah, they're going to find their way. They are incredible problem solvers. They are people with immense character that has dragged us to titles single-handedly, right? But when you give them these many mini games to solve, in quick succession, I think they crumble. I mean, you can't expect a good outcome out of it, like honestly. And we are going to keep seeing this throughout Carlos Carlos time with us. It's never going to stop. I have no idea why this is a viable way to see out corners, because it takes just one good connection. That's it. I mean, Thibaut got a hand to it, but it's not like it's not enough. I mean, there has to be a point where we decide, oh yeah, like we have to basically look at a man's height and be like, yeah, you probably is better at the edge of the box. Maybe prevent a man from making a darting run inside, rather than being the guy. So I mean, responsible for marking someone twice your size. It's yeah, for me, as a layman who doesn't have my coaching badges, this is diabolical to do so. And also coming to the midfield equation, right? You named out Fede, Jude Bellingham, all these guys. I get it. But for us to be pinned back, right, by Betis, who I mean, they have their Sabali, Esco, Anthony, Cucho. I mean, they have some incredibly technical players who can do the job, right? But for us to be pinned down, even after bringing on impact subs like Kamavinga, they're basically being chokeholded, Sahil, chokeholded near our own corner flag. I'm looking at these men. Okay, Kamavinga, two-time Champions League winner. Rudiger, right? Two-time Champions League winner. Multiple league titles. Played in a back three. Played in a back four. Played for AS Roma. Had to work his way up. Came through the Stuttgart Academy or whatnot. Immensely experienced, right? They're kind of trying to gauge. Okay, we're cornered in a 2v3. All these guys are basically hounding us down. We are trying to basically play out of their press instead of just booting the ball. I mean, boot the ball, man. I know we did that quite often in high pressure games. We saw against City, Thibaut wasn't taking any chances. It's like route one, just clear the ball and then we regroup. Tonight, if Betis actually were a team that had enough killers, one of those turnovers could have ended up in a couple of goals at least. Why do we really dig our own holes and basically bury in them and let man basically pour mud all over us like they're responsible for it? It's us. It's our doing. When are we going to take responsibility, accountability for how drab we look? We are a team that's worth $1 billion. We shouldn't be struggling beside our own corner flag to link up a couple of men and progress the ball. The amount of times Modric was like, look for me. But our defense or Thibaut or whoever it is, and even him, we'll get to Modric, these men even can't find players who can basically make things happen. And by the time they get the ball to Modric, he's closed down and his passing lanes are infinitely more tougher than when he anticipated the ball to arrive at his feet. So fundamentally, this team is broken beyond a few individual stalwarts who can carry the burden of not just playmaking but build up everything. Everything from when Thibaut releases the ball, it's basically the individual quality and maturity of some of our dressing room leaders that carry this team forward. But devoid of that, what did Carlo do? He threw in Goaler. First challenge, coming fresh off the boat, right? Fresh off the boat. He hasn't really had a major significant, touch this season. If I was Goaler, I will be like, yeah, I'm going to basically make the fullback know that I'm there. I'm going to barge into him. I'm going to basically make this a physical tussle so much that he'll be surprised by me, who's been having this label of, oh, this guy really is a bit timid going into challenges. Make him look like, yeah, like I'm up for the fight. What he does is basically with the way he set himself up in the first 2 minutes since his introduction is basically announce to not just the Betis players but to everyone watching the game that he just isn't that hard-balled to throw into a game like this. You saw more cojones from Endrick, who at least tried something. I mean, I'm just running my mouth. I'm just so frustrated, Sahil. It's beyond acceptable, what this management and these players are doing at this moment in time, because Atleti are playing Bilbao, in like what, in a minute. They're going to get the win and they're going to leapfrog us. It's as simple as that. We're going to be third in the title race in March, side. This is where we're supposed to be, the beast awoken, right? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing with all the set of weapons that we have? We are absolutely throwing away a major league title, the first chance in 17 years to retain the league.
You're right as well about our body language, or rather the lack of it, actually, in moments. You mentioned that this is a $1 billion team, but in certain moments, I honestly fail to believe that. It's really hard to digest the fact that these players are valued so much, because in certain moments, in certain games, we just look incredibly lost. And that was the reality today, because like I mentioned, we were played out of the park by not a world class, like not a top three side, not a side that's challenging for the league, by just a team of bang average players who've played us out of the park, like who've worked harder than us, for a good 75 minutes, I would say, because the first 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, we were dominant.
That's the crux of the story. They just wanted this win more.
Yeah, and when they had their confidence and when they had a good run in, they knew that they had the kind of potency in the final third to bring a goal about. And when we had the onus on us, then going the other way to create something out of nothing, because then Betis were the ones who took it upon themselves to be organized, to remain compact in defense. We just had no answers to that. Again, taking you back to corner kicks, the difference between zonal marking and the man marking system that was there in the past. I think we're just too confused between some players who just before the defensive corner kick is taken are already thinking about what they're going to do on the on the break
yeah,
on the break that follows it. And I know that's one of our strategies, and that's one of the main sources of where our goals come from. When we break with pace, but it just isn't the kind of attitude you would want to encourage and the kind of attitude you want to project from the dressing room. And I think that's got to come either from Carlo or from Davide, because Davide, I know, is more involved with the technicalities of set pieces and these kinds of things.
You look at the backline side. Who's the only one who is decent in the air? It's Rudiger. Alaba, average. Mendy, below average. Vasquez, below average because of his size. I've said for his size,
not even below
he's
average.
decent.
It's beyond that.
So this is the problem that we have. It's a team, and Mo have said this so many times, whenever he has been on. Fundamentally, the way this team has been built is all wrong. I mean, you can point the blame wherever you want. It's that easy because we have so many targets. It's not just Carlo. It's Carlo, Perez. It's the board. It's everything that has gone into what we look like in 2025. That a team, like you said, that is supposed to be average, like Betis, just saw a glaring weakness in our motivation. Not just the way we set up, because more often when, we have said this so many times, when the Champions League anthem players, I think all these inefficiencies, all these slight intricacies that we absolutely shat the bed on tonight will be ironed out. We just look like we have a chip on our shoulder. We just look like, we have something to prove again. Against Betis, nobody wanted to prove anything. I have no idea why. Modric is coming against Isco, right? Like I saw early on in the game, there were a couple of neat tussles. I was super proud, because I was just reminiscing in that moment. Oh, Isco, I was here when Isco came. I was here when Modric came. Isco came after Modric. Isco left, and Modric is still here. So I was just, basking in the longevity of Modric and whatnot. But then reality hits again. When Modric has the ball, nobody's making the run. Vinicius, I mean, Rodrigo at least tried. Okay, Vinicius, bro, how shocking is this drop off ever since Jan? I mean, it's concerning at this point. It really is. It really is. Ever since November, December, Jan, he has dropped off a cliff. He just looks like a bang average player who has a 2-yard head start over the defenders. If he doesn't fix up, where do our prospects lie for the remainder of the season? I really wonder.
No, and it's difficult to see him so unmotivated. Actually, he seems more motivated in games where an opposition fullback is actually provoking him, because today neither Sabali nor Antonio nor any of the defenders have gone and provoked him or tried to play any mind games with him.
He started to I think Sahel is still here, but
he's still here. Yeah, the network.
Yeah, no, but if you remember, Sahel, at the end, he still started to, provoke and start a fight out of nothing.
Right. Why? And it was very uncalled for, especially because he'd gone at that point 70-75 minutes without having said a word. And I was actually impressed for once. Okay, Vinicius isn't creating a problem. He might be incredibly uninspired today. He might be very frustrated in his game and how discontinuous his ball progression and all of that is. But he hasn't picked a fight. So maybe that's offering fuel to the fire, and maybe he actually needed that in that moment. And 100%. Another thing is, again, when he isn't receiving the kind of service from, say, a Bellingham, in those areas of the pitch in the left half spaces. He just doesn't seem as complete of a player because again you can't ask Vinicius to both cut in and create something and also have that option on the overlap. Um, and I think that was one of the reasons why we saw a lot more of Mendy occasionally running up the field, which also brought the first goal,
Yeah,
actually the only goal that we scored.
decent assist from Mendy.
Yeah, and yeah, it's been a while since we saw Mendy on the end of one of those assists, but a long time actually. But still, nevertheless, the left side seemed incredibly empty today without
Mm,
Bellingham's presence. And yeah, Vinicius also cut a very frustrated figure, needless to say.
mm. Also, in transitions defensively, when we get break on. I mean, Chouameni again,
Yeah,
again. What do I say about this man? I really root for him on days where he perform. I'm like, yeah, this is sort of the turning point. I see again, even tonight's game. There were glimpses. Chouameni, really showing the grit that is required of the position that he plays. But for the goal and some of the misplaced passes, it's incredible when Mbappe is willing to work harder than him. It's crazy. It shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be the case. I mean, Mbappe is trying to set an example here. He misplaces the pass to Mbappe, and Mbappe is the one who is breaking his neck to track back, breaking his neck to stop that transition. Whereas Chouameni is like, oh, let me jog a couple yards and then in my mind play out the situation. It's almost like he's trying to be Neo in the Matrix. He's trying to play out the situation and kind of anticipate if his presence is needed to break that out. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. It shouldn't be the basic first instinct of a guy trying to put out fires. I'm sorry, man. Chouameni again,
no, truly.
even for the goal.
For a defensive midfielder. For a defensive midfielder, his lack of work rate is appalling, shocking in moments because his inconsistencies just don't seem to let go of him. He has one good game, and then we're all impressed with how he's come back to form in midfield after that
Yeah,
little bit of a run in defense, and then he
yeah,
has two, again, two of the worst games that you can imagine for him to have in that position. And in midfield, we're often talking about that equation for the lack of a better word, balance. It's
yeah.
it's very simplistic when you think of it.
Mm,
When it's working actually. When Ceballos was in the team, say when Ceballos was operating with full functionality, we would not worried about the balance. Ceballos was
mm,
also working as socks off in defense, and he was also an option for when we needed to keep the ball. But Chouameni just seems so that he can't fulfill either of those roles completely or with fulfillment, and
yeah,
that just to me is a glaring question now for Ancelotti because as the business end of the season approaches, we don't really have a solid midfield without. Again, Valverde is playing constantly out of position. Ceballos is injured for a couple of months, which opens up a lot of room for
yeah,
questions.
yeah,
Bellingham, I don't know. Bellingham's is the only one who you can look for sort of for inspiration in that midfield. Um, and who do you fill in like to that 8/6 spot? Because Chouameni has been lost for form for a long time in defensive midfield. He hasn't looked like anywhere near the player he was a couple seasons back. I know he has a game or two here and there, but as a defensive midfielder, you sort of have big questions, of him, of his game, and how lazy he is, of his work rate. You speak of Kamavinga, he's come off the bench, but in big games, I think it's very easy to look at him as a walking penalty or as a walking foul outside of the edge of the area. And Modric has his own flaws, his own limitations with his age and all of that. You can't play him every game. So Sabas was the one option that, okay, you can look at him from a sense of mediocrity sometimes, but because of the kind of player and because of the kind of role he can be deployed in, you can play him as a six with two eights. You can play him as a six with another six and a 10, right? So
yeah.
that just opened up a lot of gateways. And I think now that he's not here, a lot of that onus falls on the likes of Chouameni and Kamavinga to
Mm.
oversee this crisis.
And I don't think they're either ready enough. really walk us safely over March, man. Yeah, may God help us. The midfield situation is yeah is the greatest worry for me, because as the centre back situation will sort itself out.
Yeah.
Um, even Alaba in phases he looked imposing. He looked confident, but the midfield situation, unfortunately, if they don't find an answer to it, our front line is going to basically die starving. That's what's going to happen, because the amount of times Rodrigo had to drop deep, Mbappe had to drop deep, to basically progress the possession. Man, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, let's quickly look into a few of the comments and then slowly
Sure.
start to wind this up, because I have absolutely no mood for such a dry performance, to be honest,
Yeah.
because this was a Saturday that I was looking forward to. This was the weekend that I was looking forward to, but my team apparently thought, yeah, let's take a day off, and yeah, bask in the sunset out of Tuesday's crucial Atleti matchup in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Big up Ashik. He was mentioning fire Carlo now. Ashik was also saying making mistakes occasionally is acceptable, but deliberately making mistakes and not learning from it means this guy has no sense what mistakes look like. Um, right. Ashik was also mentioning it's either him or his data. Levinson, who has no sense of eye test, probably looks at the Excel sheet and helps Carlo set the line up. Carlo and the Sun. Um, I mean, yeah, people are mad. I mean, I wouldn't blame them for it, to be honest. Ashi was also mentioning no ball carrier, midfield relying on Chouameni as the carrier when Kamavinga was available. Starting two centre backs were both a bit off pace due to injuries, and a right back who forgets that he is a right back, useless. Yeah, both of them bandage on the left knee. I mean, Real Madrid, this isn't Plymouth Argyle. Um, this isn't Deportivo La Coruña. This is Madrid we are talking about. We just hope that the black magic will carry us safely over a weekend. It's crazy.
To be fair,
Ash will also
Plymouth Argyle put up more of a fight against Man City than we did against Betis. So let's not
there.
disrespect that.
There you go. There you go. That's all you need to know. Um, Yeah, Ashik was mentioning end of the first half. He sees the issue, waits for Betis to take the lead to make changes. As a proactive manager, you should be as a professional manager, you should be proactive, not reactive. Making subs don't wipe out the goal. Yeah, yeah. At least they're keeping it consistent with the 5-2 loss. Oh, the Femenino also lost to Barca as well, 5-2 apparently.
Yeah, because
Thank
that
God.
really come as a surprise to any of
Yeah,
you. By this point, our Femenino team is just in its
yeah,
starting stages.
yeah. Like Up City was in the chat, he was mentioning we played like Atleti, La Liga's over. If others drop points, we will also do it. Yeah, that's the major concern, right? It's almost like we have to partake in the merry-go-round, and basically be like, yeah, we can't be we can't be upholding our status as the top dogs in Spain. We have to let others have short stint at it. It's crazy. Um,
Robin Hood Club continuously battering for points in La Liga.
mm,
And you would think that this would sort of a game like this would bring the best out of these players because there's so much at stake. This is your first position in the league at stake, and potentially you could then go on and take the lead again if
mm,
Barca drop points tomorrow.
yeah.
But the lack of motivation, and I
Mm,
would accept it if there was some sort of a fight back, some sort
yeah.
of a punch in that second
Mm,
half,
mm,
even after having conceded, the penalty.
yeah.
But there was none, and that's the simple truth, Sunil.
Mm. And even for the pen, my goodness, Sahil, Rudiger just was like, yeah, this is the worst turnover that I've been subjected to in my career in Madrid. It's like, have you ever seen Rudiger look that lost and be like, yeah, I've got to bring a man down?
It
I
wasn't
haven't.
actually. I would have. I still question. that call for him to go on rushing like that, because it was still
Yeah.
not game over there. I know, and Anthony was in a good position, and Mendy was barely tracking, and there's nobody. Chouameni wasn't
In
even
my
in the.
opinion, Mendy had him covered. Mendy had Anthony covered.
Okay, Mendy had sort of had Anthony covered, and then another runner. I think there was no Chouameni, and
Mm,
I don't think you place such a lack of trust in Courtois to not be able to save that, because Courtois is coming off his line and he knows he has to make a save there.
mm,
Um, so it's either he puts it on target or he lays it off to Anthony, which then is a sort of a 50-50 with Mendy.
mm,
But I think Rudiger just he's made a rash decision over there, and once he made it,
mm,
there was no questioning it, because even our
mm.
players didn't bother going up to the ref to appeal it because there was no questioning
Yeah.
it.
No, I haven't seen that. That's what I said. I haven't ever seen, at least in our colors, Rudiger make such a mistake like that where there is no debate in it. Yeah, it's crazy. One of those days for him, surely. But yeah, like again, like what Farouk said, I think was it last month, a couple of months back, he was very vocal in mentioning that Rudiger hasn't been the same this season. Um, with injuries or without it, he just hasn't looked that the
Right.
same presence that he has been for the last 2 years. Big up Moon, he was mentioning when he was so shit his away La Liga performance is always a zero, and his attitude was over the top. Sell him. Yeah,
Okay. I
the
might
the
be hard
the
to follow that last part, but I do
the
agree with
sell
that.
the
Yeah.
sell him comments really, it cracks me up, to be honest. But I mean, people are frustrated. I am as well. I mean, what can we do, right? When we see a person that is capable of so much more, it's a slap on your face. Especially in March, we are in March. This isn't December. This is March. Ashi was mentioning we as humans are allowed to make mistakes, but when you repeat it knowingly, then you're a stubborn fool who should be jailed for existing. Big up HFDX98. Ancelotti just handed the league. Yeah, bad performance from the players. I had enough. I really had enough. Asensio on the bench. What the fuck? This manager needs to be sacked. There you go. Sid was mentioning Mini's performances are being affected by contract talks? Question mark. Nah, nah. I don't think that's the case. He's just having a very bad season by his standards. By his standards, that is. Moon was mentioning Mini and Mbappe can't play together. Rohit was in the chat. Big up Rohit. Carlo benching Asensio for Alaba in an away game was a bad move. I think he was just trying to rotate the partnership because um I was mentioning this to Doris in the watch along. Doris wasn't having any of it. My theory was that Asensio at you know in top flight football really doesn't have the minutes required to be just thrown in every 2 days to perform in a do or die situation. And there is a heavy chance of burnout. We have seen that with so many young players. I mean, he's not exactly young, he's 21, 22 or something. But relative to his age, he doesn't have the performances. I mean, the appearances to, really be put in a situation like that. I think that's what Carlo did. And I didn't really think that this would be an issue. But yeah, Alaba and Rudiger for large parts were struggling, although Alaba looked a bit more composed, at least in the beginning of the game. Um, but he was also mentioning, but our players were also sluggish and unimaginative. I just cannot comprehend how they lost the game from the positive game state. Yeah, we were having the lead. I mean, brilliant assist. I mean, brilliant pre-assist by Mbappe as well. He just made that goal all by himself. I'll be honest. Um, Coming off of a game out due to some teeth issues and whatnot, he looked much more livelier than Vinny and Rodrigo whenever he had a chance. Um, Even Rodrigo, I mean, the couple of chances that he did have, even down the right, tried to do it all on his own and almost managed to actually make something out of it. Unfortunately, it didn't end up in the back of the net. Big up
It
Isadin
was actually
Hamoud.
Brahim in that first
Mm,
half who
mm,
half caught my eye. The kind of positions he found of himself in, especially
yeah.
when he played from that sort of free role position. It's just a pity that he won't be playing there much anytime soon with Bellingham coming back as well. But we do know that for players like himself and for someone like Arda as well,
Yeah.
they are craving the opportunity to be played in that position because that is
Mm,
where they thrive. So
mm,
yeah, I thought Brahim in that first half found himself in good positions and took his goal really well. For again, his numbers for a squad player aren't all that bad, but we do know that for all the effort that he puts in,
yeah.
the output just sometimes when he plays as a winger, and we know he isn't a winger. It's just a bit below what we would consider Real Madrid level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think, Brahim in that floating 10, he pops up in zones that is hard to mark, hard to defend. I mean,
Yeah,
still, I was very happy with the way our front four, started. I was very, very happy. We were really giving Betis a lot of problems, especially with deep runs and whatnot. But yeah, unfortunately, they just fixed up, and from then on in, Betis never looked back, did they? Isadin was mentioning disappointed defeat for us. Pick up yourself. He was also mentioning I don't think we can keep up without Jude, Asensio, Valverde, and Carvajal. Um, Ashik was mentioning our front three were dropping deep to get the ball. Vinny was doing Mendy's job in the corner at some points. That is how deep they dropped. Midfield was nowhere. Yeah, Betis just absolutely suffocated us. I mean, the press, their shape was. It should be commended, man. They set up so perfectly well. Whenever I saw a free man, they were immediately closed down. Immediately. I mean, it was almost like, yeah, there was a sea of white and green whenever we
yeah.
had a player attempting to, break the lines. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Isco
One
as
of the
well. You
few
have to
times.
mention Isco Suned.
Mm.
The guy
Yeah,
was
yeah.
absolutely balling in the middle of that park. Took me back
Mm,
to 2016 against Verratti. That
mm,
performance.
mm,
Uh,
mm,
well, not quite, but because again, it's been quite a while since then. But you know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
I was reminiscing the kind of player he was at Real Madrid for large parts of his career.
yeah.
Obviously, it was a pity the way he left, and
Mm,
the fact that he didn't get to play a lot under Zidane in his final couple seasons. But yeah, that was just the situation that it was. Uh, but yeah, it's good to see him. It's rather bittersweet that he scores against us.
mm.
Um, also, I have to mention the only other time that he's actually scored against us was with Malaga, and Manuel Pellegrini was manager as well in that game for Malaga.
Funny
So
coincidence.
good,
Funny coincidence.
yes, coming of for circle.
Ancelotti at least said, we deserve to lose. We played a bad game. Okay, fair play, big man. At least, he had the cojones to say that out loud. Yeah, the reason why he took Mbappe off was that he didn't train in the last few days with the team, right? Quickly, let's start, winding this down. A few more comments before we go. Isadi was mentioning if we play like this against Leti in the Champions League, it's going to be very troubling. Um, so I was also mentioning I feel bad for Sensio when the away Sociedad fans were rudely chanting against him. Right. Madrid TV, big up yourself. He was mentioning Ancelotti to blame. Right then, this 4-4-2 formation against smaller teams needs to stop. It doesn't work. Um, yeah, I mean, was it a 4-4-2? In honesty, I
This
don't think so.
stage
I
of the
mean, you
season,
could.
Sinead, it doesn't really matter because we have to be able to play in multiple formations.
Mm,
So if he's actually gone on and put a team out that he hasn't succeeded with in at any point in the season prior to this game, then I would really be surprised in Ancelotti's qualities as a coach because I'm sure he hasn't done that. He has tried and tested that same method and he
mm,
has had it work out for him. It's just
yeah.
that on this particular night, it wasn't a good fit.
Right then. I guess that's pretty much it, people. Disappointing result, disappointing night, disappointing day. I've, I've lost track of time with how shite our performance was. this gives every incentive for Atleti and Barcelona to, just make it between them two for the remainder of the
Yeah.
season, and we just sit back, hope, and pray. People who are Muslims, this is the time to, basically, zone into your fast. And, for Christians, the same. For Hindus, I don't know. For every religion out there, turn to your holy books, turn to your mosques, your churches, because that's the only power that can basically give us, give us an outside chance to, stake a claim in this league title race. I hope this would be a very different case, heading into March. How much of a blow is this going to be on our psyche heading into, a pivotal derby Champions League knockout tie Tuesday, and then the away trip on Wednesday, going off of our, very, very lackluster performances on the road. I really dread to think, if we aren't on a game, this will be one of those famed ties where Athletic can boast, to their grandkids and their generations to come, that they knocked out a Real Madrid side that, that was coming off of a league and the Champions League double.
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case. Just hope that's not the case. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the players will be motivated, and uh, they'll have enough on their mind to really, deliver, because this is a derby. This isn't any other um, knockout tie. But yeah, watch out for the preview. Hopefully, Monday. Watch out on our socials, and we'll kind of schedule it. It'll be a bit last minute because of how quickly the games are coming thick and fast. But yeah, I hope we have enough cojones to see us over the round of 16. But yeah, until next time, people. Ala Madrid.
Real Madrid.